Hello and welcome to Around the Exchanges. I'll bite because I think I need to bite with regards to what's going on in the sphere at the moment of geopolitics, economics, behavior, personal finance, and where it's at. So first and foremost, let me go with this one. I'll bite on the $20 million ad campaign around the fuel energy crisis. Why I'm biting on this one is because it's just so out of whack with where we need to be talking about the future of this country and what we need to do. Don't forget, $20 million to tell you how to take your roof racks off or how to drive your car more efficiently has been proven by many studies, including a very good one by the Curtin University. It doesn't actually move the dial. I mean, shock horror that being told by an ad campaign in anything doesn't actually change behavior. You might as well basically tell somebody that if you eat less, you're going to get skinnier. Well, no joke. That's not exactly how we should do it. That $20 million that is now basically completely gone out the window is another way of what's really getting to people at the bottom end, which is that we keep spending on things we don't need to spend on and how we do it. Because this is all around the idea, and this is the next part of the discussion, the cost of living scenario that we currently live in. The government, rightly so, came in on their election around how they were going to give cost of living relief. And the relief is clear that we have tried to help the household. The catch is this, is that assistance and help can actually lead to hurt and longer term issues. And that's where we sit right now. That's what's really getting to me at the moment with the whole scenario that we sit in this country. Let's stay with the energy fuel price problem. For many, many years, of all persuasions, Australia has skirted its issue around the International Energy Association's want and need that we should have at least 90 days of fuel of all descriptions in stockpiling. We're one of the worst, and for years we were skirting around 30, even as low sometimes into the low 20s during COVID. And we continue to do it. And that's fascinating from a point of view that why? Why do we do that? And then again, you can see the logic behind it when you sit there and go, we've got very stable supply from our partners across the Asian region. Places like Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, they've always been there and they remain there. That's what needs to be pointed out. They are remaining a core part of what's now been referred to, thanks to Mark Carney, as the middle powers. The nationalistic sort of movement gets up that we should manufacture ourselves and what have you. Well, the cost of manufacturing petroleum products is not exactly cheap, and considering that we are a fairly high cost manufacturing industry country, it doesn't exactly make complete sense. And as you saw with my interview with Shahana McKenzie from Bio Australia, they point out very clearly that the other option is biofuels, but it doesn't completely answer the question because it gets back down to the household, right? And where the household sits on this whole discussion, which is we can constantly look for the now. And it's so easy to just go to the household table. Here is how we're going to fix you here and now. We will give you a subsidy. We will give you a rebate. We will give you relief from the pressures that are happening of everyday life. Great. Feels fantastic. The catch is that history is littered with those helps, leading to outcomes that actually lead to us hurting. You can go back decades, centuries even, around what this is. I mean, there is an argument to some extent. The pension is a great thing. It adds support. But then when everybody expects it, and when everybody's told that they are going to get it, and when people that probably don't deserve it start to get it, then it gets baked in, and people act in a way that isn't really in their interest because it's not in the national interest to continue to pay that out. Superannuation came in to help that scenario. Fantastic. Very, very good ideas forward. The catch is, now that super is here, people still want their pension because it's not going to completely offset what their super is going to do, or they've now got to a point of view that superannuation has become a vehicle for wealth for those at the upper ends because they only get taxed at 15% or rather than what they do at their personal income scenario. But again, this is the question I want to come back to and why helping can end up being the hindrance. Ask yourself this question. Do you want a handout or do you want your mortgage to hold flat? Because that's the debate here. If we continue to subsidise things like the energy rebate that we had for 2.5 years from the end of 2022 to midway through 2024, and even into 2025, depending on which state you're in, the cut to the fuel excise, which some people have pointed out to me is an emergency lever for a month or so. Well, it's clearly going to be longer than a month. And that's why it's not an emergency. It becomes innate policy. Once it's in, it's never out. And if you're cutting the fuel energy excise by 26 and a bit cents, which it is now, and like it was back during the Morrison government of 22 or 21 and a half cents, as it was, to basically try and take some pressure off the household, that, yes, will show up in the figures like it's magically appeared to help us, except that it's not. It's adding stimulus. It's giving us more money in our back pocket. And that means the other side of this whole discussion is monetary policy. Because at the moment, the central banker's nightmare is front and center and is here for all to see. Our deputy governor in Andrew Hauser this week actually said that in New York to the IMF. He spoke about the fact that right now we have high inflation, low growth, and the one that hasn't come through yet, which is worrying me and keeping me up at night, is the unemployment rate going up. It's coming. It is very clearly coming because central bankers can't control that. And the issue for them is this. In their world, and in most people's view, the biggest impactor on living standards is higher prices. If living standards continue to go backwards because price appreciation just dwarfs everything else, you can't survive. And that's why sometimes people argue, is the RBA trying to actually put the economy into recession? No, it doesn't want to do that. But if it's the evil of two evils, because it's not really the lesser of two evils, they're horrible, both of them. They'll probably lean towards taming inflation because living standards are based on price pressure. And if you can get price pressure back underneath a more sustainable level, they'll do that, which comes back to my point around house pricing and your mortgage. Affordability has been smashed out of this park with regards to what was going to slow down the Australian housing market. It is showing no signs of slowing down. People, particularly over the last 6 to 8 years, have leveraged themselves to the eyeballs. We know that. We're now at 6, 7 times earnings, the kind of thing that APRA was trying to stop in October 1st, 2023, with the buffers that were put onto it. We're still going. We're still going quite strongly, and that's fine. But this is the question you've got to ask yourself. If you continue to get supported by the government with rebates and with subsidies, and the RBA then has to turn around and go, well, we need to slow you down in other ways. We're going to raise your mortgage by increasing the cash rate. Which one are you going to choose? Because I think people are starting to work out the fact that at the moment, the help the government's giving us is now becoming that hindrance. That's where I think this debate has been lost. We need reform. We need the government to go down the productivity angle, and I commend them for taking that number. But there is growing signs they're going to balk at it, and there's growing signs they're going to give us more money. And that might feel great now, but it is long-term unsustainable. And if we keep kicking the inflation can down the road for somebody else to absorb, we're all going to feel it. The accumulated increase in costs across this country since 2021 at the bottom end to where we are today is now in the mid 20% handle. That is astonishing. And it's worse depending if you want to go into sector levels. We cannot sustain seeing a 20 to 25% increase in the things that we buy every 3 to 5 years. That will be what crushes this entire country. And until leadership actually starts to say that we need to create losers, and there will be losers, we're going to be in this bind for the foreseeable future. So which one are you going to pick? Short-term relief or the pause on the increased pressure of your mortgage? I know which one I want. Thanks very much for listening to Around the Exchanges. It is our new forecast with how we're doing it. We are clearly wanting to flesh out the kinds of issues that you guys are bringing to us in the comments and in the emails. We know you're feeling it. And if you are, please write into us. You can also disagree and disagree vehemently. We need to have these debates. Be respectful. That's all I care about. But please write in, because right now I have not felt this kind of pressure in a pure economics and household perspective since the GFC. This is different to COVID. This is an economic one that we haven't really experienced. So thank you for always watching and listening. Please, wherever you are doing it, don't forget to subscribe to the Exchanges podcast series. We love bringing these to you. And again, the emails, exchanges@evanlucas.com.au. Love the feedback that we're getting, because this is going to be the most important thing going forward. And the reason we've started the Around the Exchanges part of this podcast is to make sure that we're here answering your questions that are clearly getting to you every day of the week.